Okay, so this video is going to go through a way that you can get a submission, an online submission from a student, and have access to their native Google Doc that they're working in. So this is similar to what you'd see in Google Classroom, where a student would turn in something and you'd have access to the Google Doc where you could comment using Google Comments and have that full functionality. So the way that you can make this happen is you would add an assignment. So I'm in a module and I add an assignment. And I'm going to make a new assignment. I'm going to call it Google Doc essay. And when I edit this, I'm going to have my submission type be online. And so instead of no submission, I'm going to say online. Now, I don't want them to upload a file. If they upload a file and they upload a Google Doc, I'll get a snapshot of that file at that moment, and I won't have access to the Google Comments functionality. However, if I tell them to upload a website URL, that will give me access to that document. So I'm going to say in my comments up here, I'm going to say, please submit a link to your working Google Doc essay. And then this Canvas handles a lot of the sharing in terms of permissions for Google Docs behind the scenes pretty seamlessly, except in this case if they're giving you a direct link. So you'll need to tell them either to share it with you, or preferably when you're setting up your classroom at the beginning of the year, you have them make a folder on their Google Drive that is shared with you at that point, and then they do all their work in that shared folder so that you have access to it. I'm going to just put in here and say, please make sure that it is in a shared, in a folder that is shared with me. All right, and so I'm going to online website URL, and then I'm going to give them multiple attempts. I'm going to save and publish so that they can see it, and then it's there. So now I'm going to switch over to a student account. So this is a student that would be enrolled in my class. And then they have this Google Doc that they're trying to turn in. And so what they can do is they need to make sure that it's shared with me as the instructor. And I just have to have the ability to comment or edit or whatever you want with them to be able to do. And then they're going to copy that link, and they're going to go to Canvas, their assignment, and they're going to, whoops, I need to go home. I just made this again. They're going to have their assignment. They're going to open it up. They're going to submit that, and then what they're going to do is basically just paste in that link, and then they can put every comment that they want in it. When they hit submit, that's it. And then as an instructor, I'm going to go back to my grades here, and here is my assignment, and I can see I have an online submission from that student who's me, and then I'm going to open up SpeedGrader. And when I look at that submission, it's going to look like this. This is the URL. So when I click on the document link here, it's going to open up that native Google Doc that I would normally see through Google Classroom. Now, I have access to it since I'm an editor, and I can comment. Now you can see here, if I comment, it's actually showing up as the student version. This is not my instructor account. So if I want to actually provide comments as an instructor from that account, I'm going to go up here to the the icon for the user, and then switch to my actual instructor account. And now what I could do is I can comment as I normally would. Oops, sorry. Just like you'd see like normally in Google Classroom or whatever Google Doc you're used to working in. This is good, whatever it would be. You can move into suggesting mode. You can do however you've normally interfaced with Google Docs before. You'll have that full functionality as you're now just working on their Google Doc. And whatever it would be, you make your comments. Now if you go back to the other browser, you can see that those have come through. If I go to my student view and I look at my essay, then I can see those comments there. That's happening in live time. I could respond in there. They're going to see these comments as soon as they happen because they're still the owner of the document. So they would be able to see these as you're doing them. Which, if you did it through the different type of, like a file upload, it would work differently. And then that's it. You can give them comments here, resubmit. You can give them a grade, and you can submit your feedback. And then, so when the student goes back to their account. So that's it. If you're just doing one draft, that would be there. Again, they have the live document they can work on. So if you really want to use Google Comments, that's the way that you can do it. The student could modify something. I'm just going to highlight. I'm just going to change the text so we can see it. And then they could resubmit. So let's say I take my document up here and I resubmit that assignment. It's going to have my submission again. When I go back into my gradebook through Canvas, right, I still see this document that we had before. I would see those submissions there and those comments, they would come through. One thing to be wary of, so when you're doing it this way through the native Google Doc, it's not going to keep track of those URLs, those separate versions. When you do it to, so you have these pieces here, but when you do it as a file upload, you actually save those submissions, and you can see kind of the progression a little bit better. But again, for those that really want to work on a native Google Doc for their workflow, this is a way that you can do it through Canvas that's a little bit more in line with the way things looked on Google Classroom. All right, hopefully that helps.